Are you an engineer, finance person, or other highly educated professional by trade? Do you love to learn, dissect processes, and then create new, clever, and unique ways to solve problems and grow businesses? What if I told you that that is the fastest path to the bottom? Our guest today on the Land.MBA podcast is Joe McCall. Joe is a leading real estate investor with one of the top podcasts and coaching programs in the real estate investing niche. Joe is a recovering engineer who realized that, and I quote, "Cubicles made me want to vomit." He decided to leave the security of his job and go out on his own. But after struggling with shiny object syndrome and trying to develop his own approaches to real estate investing, Joe finally decided to buy a course and follow it to the letter. That was the beginning of his truly remarkable career. Oh, by the way, he's quite an innovator now, but that is because he has the expertise to find the subtle opportunities that aren't obvious to everyone else. Listen on as Joe shares his story of going from near bankruptcy to the top of the mountain.
Welcome to the Land.MBA Podcast, where we go deep into the business of land investing.
Hey, gentlemen, how's it going today?
Great.
Awesome. So we've got my counterpart here, my partner in crime, Howard Zonder, and he's out in Michigan, just, slacking, not working.
It's like, where's Waldo? Where's Howard going to be today?
Exactly. And we've got Mr. St. Louis Cardinal himself, Joe McCall, the man, the myth, the master of wholesale lease options. How are you today, Joe?
Glad to be on your podcast, guys. Thank you so much. You've been on mine, and it's just an honor to be here and talking to you guys. I love talking about investing, whether it's houses or vacant land. I love real estate.
Great.
Actually, I think quite the opposite. I think we feel honored to have you on our podcast. So thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, very much. So cool. Well, let's just get into it, guys. We are going to chat a little bit about real estate investing today. So, Joe, you've got a large audience yourself, and a lot of people in the housing world. They're familiar with Joe McCall, and they know what you do. Why don't you just give us a 30,000-foot view on how you got started in real estate, and then how you ended up starting to bring land into your portfolio?
Yeah. Well, I got the real estate bug through three ways. A friend of mine was getting into real estate, doing really well with it in Kansas City. And he recommended the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Of course, read that, got excited about real estate. I started reading a bunch of books, didn't have much money, so I would buy a bunch of, I guess you'd call them pirated courses on eBay. I don't know. But I'd buy these copies of courses on eBay, and started just studying everything I could on real estate. And then started buying properties with bank financing, like houses. And I was, at the time in 06, 07, I was buying properties based on future appreciation, expecting them to go up and up and up. Real estate never goes down, right?
In 06 and 07? Okay.
Yep. And
I think I missed this part of your story before.
Oh, man, it's an ugly part. I don't like talking about it. So I started buying a bunch of properties with bank financing because you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan.
Right.
And I tried to, I'd buy them at this, little discount, 85, 90 cents on the dollar, sometimes 95 cents on the dollar. And I would try to turn around and sell them in a couple years as a lease option at 110 cents, 115 cents on the dollar as a lease option. So margins are very thin. And then I reached a point where I couldn't buy any more houses because even back then you could only have a certain number. And then you had to start getting real creative about how you buy banks, how banks lend you money on deals, like in terms of getting portfolio loans or turning them into commercial loans or whatever. So then I started doing subject twos and owner financing, buying properties by taking over existing mortgages or creating owner financing. So it came time when the market crashed. I had about 15 or 16 homes, maybe not that many, but I pretty much lost my shorts. I lost everything. I came real close to bankruptcy, lost our own house to short sale, and just my credit was wrecked. It's pretty bad. I had a lot of private money. I did pay all my private lenders back, but it was, I don't know how I survived. It was God's grace. So then I started realizing I need to learn how to do wholesaling. Like wholesaling is just the art of buying getting a property under contract at a real cheap discount and then selling that contract or your rights to buy that property to somebody else. So at the time, I remember learning all about real estate. I didn't think wholesaling was cool. I thought wholesaling was for rookies, for beginners. It wasn't sexy. I wanted to do the big deals. I wanted to be a professional investor. Professional investors don't wholesale properties. And I realized my back is against the wall. I needed cash. And the equity that I thought I had in these properties disappeared. I didn't have anything. Now I was underwater. And any cash flow that I had was quickly disappearing to vacancies and repairs. And so I just started wholesaling. And I was also at the time, like I was what I call now a professional student. I would buy course after course after course, and I'd try to combine them all into my own little mixture of stuff. And I never just bought one course and did what that guy said to do and didn't change anything and just did it. And so finally my back was against the wall, and I was working my full-time job as an engineer, making decent money. But I was trying to do real estate on the side, trying to do my business on the work for my employer on the side, and trying to be a family man, dad, husband on the side. And I was trying to be a jack of all trades, but I was really a master of none.
Everything ends up being half-assed when you try
everything.
to do
I was half-assing everything.
Yeah, right. Been there, done that.
Failing miserably at it. So, my wife was telling me, you need to pick one or the other, like real estate or do your career in engineering and stuff. And I had a friend telling me the same thing, Joe, why are you're trying to do way too many different things? Like you just got to pick one and go for it, deep dive into it. And so I gave myself a deadline of, I think 60 or 90 days that if I don't make money in real estate wholesaling, then I'm going to quit real estate altogether forever. And right about that time, I got kind of fired from my job, but I like to say I quit because it was quite humiliating and embarrassing. But they called me into the office, said, you're just not here, Joe, when you're here, and you're doing this real estate stuff. But I had already interviewed with another company because I think I saw the writing on the wall. And the funny thing was, I got fired, but I had already had one interview with this other company. And so that other company called me that day or the next day and said, hey, do you want to come in for a second interview? And I said, yeah, sure. I don't know if I have the time, but okay. I tried to play this reluctant. And they said, okay. So I went in and they thought I was still working for this other company.
Right.
And, but they gave me an offer. And so a week or 2 weeks later, I started working for this new company. And that was kind of like, I worked for them for 2 years. So anyway, somehow in all of this, my back was against the wall and I had to figure something out. And so I bought one more course and I said, I'm going to do what this guy says to do. I'm not going to change anything. I didn't like his postcards. I didn't like his scripts. I didn't like his contracts. I thought I knew better, but I just did what he said to do. And I just committed to not changing anything. And sure enough, I did my first deal. It was a wholesaling deal that I did. And I made like 12 grand. And I couldn't believe it. This stuff actually works. Really? I was so excited that, and so I just started focusing on wholesaling and not doing anything else. I stopped. And then I got to a point where I got tired of throwing away a lot of leads. So fast forward a couple of years. And that's when I started doing lease options because back when the market was falling in 2009, it was easier to do lease option deals than it was cash deals because more and more sellers were motivated. And so I started flipping lease options. I would get the property under contract as a lease option, and then I would sell that contract to a tenant buyer. So in normal wholesaling, you sell the house to an investor or a landlord. But on a lease option, I'd tie it up under I'd get it under contract as a lease option where I'm the tenant buyer and I have the right to assign my interest to another tenant buyer. And then I would sell my contract to another tenant buyer and I'd be done and out of the deal. So I started doing those. And in 2009, I was making more money doing that part-time than I was in my full-time job. And that's when I quit my job. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love
it.
And
then fast forward a few years, we got some kids now who are teenagers. And they're not a knock on them, but they're not mature enough yet, I don't think, to talk to sellers and negotiate with them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was really attracted to land because it's pretty transactional. You know what I mean? It's just like the response rates are double, triple for houses when it comes to direct mail. And so then I can create a system and just give it to them and they look at the numbers and they can do the research, come up with an offer, send the seller an offer before we actually even ever talk to them. So we started doing land flips and my boys are now helping me with that. And we've done 25 or so deals in about 3 or 4 different states. And my boys are liking the money. It's more money than what they're doing, what they would be doing flipping burgers at McDonald's or bagging groceries.
I'm guessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're making you money and you got cheap labor relatively.
Yeah. So I pay them a certain percentage of the deal, but yeah, it's going great. And my goal is to I want them to learn or think bigger. I want them to think of being a producer, not a consumer.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to instill into them.
I love that. My son he's 11 years old. He was 10 when I first came up with Price Boss. And one day I'm sitting there working on it before I even launched it. And he was thinking about his experience probably playing video games. And he said, "Dad, you need to offer a free trial."
Really?
Really? And that night I didn't go to sleep. I stayed up all night trying to figure out how to take a Google Sheet and offer a free trial. So we figured it out. So there's a 10-day free trial. So now I give him $5 for every one that I sell, one which he gets to go spend and 4 which go in the bank. And
nice.
Trying to sort of get his mind in that entrepreneurial mindset, exactly as you say. You can go work for the man if you want, but it's nice when you can control your own destiny.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I have a hard time getting I have a 14-year-old daughter. I have a hard time getting her interested in business because, she's a musician. She'll go out and play a gig and make a couple $100. I'm like, I can't pay you that much.
Yeah.
It's
on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey folks, my name is David Van Steenkist and I've been a real estate investor for over 10 years. I've used lots of different tools, but none of them has done for my business what LandSpeed does. LandSpeed covers every step in the land investing process, from ordering mailing lists to marketing, sales, and closing the deal. What I really like though is it anticipates my needs. When I think, I wish I had a quick and easy way to evaluate return on investment on a potential property, look no further, LandSpeed does it. If I want to edit a deed after LandSpeed creates it, it can do that too. Most systems just stick you with a PDF that's uneditable and you got to go back into the system and edit the fields and do whatever you need to do, and it's a real pain in the rear end. LandSpeed simplifies it. If I want to send 1 or 5 or even 40 neighbor letters at the click of a button, bam, LandSpeed does it. But even with all that inherent capability, you get access to LandSpeed Community, you get weekly mastermind calls, and you get the best mailing rates in the business with no volume commitment, which is freaking awesome. If I just want to op one contract to somebody, I don't have to pay $1.50. I still pay the bargain basement rate. And on top of that, customer service is stellar, quick, and they just do a great job. I've been very, very happy, very pleased with it. And look, I've been running my business on LandSpeed for over 2 years. So take it from me. If you're serious about your land business, then check out LandSpeed at facebook.com/landbizautomation. That's land, BIZ automation. And if you want $100 off, Tell them you heard it from me, David Van Steenkist, on the Land.MBA podcast. I liked what, really related to what you talked about, Joe, having shiny object syndrome when it came to being addicted to courses and education and not liking this or not liking that. And through, we've all, had some sort of school of hard knocks. But what I tell my Land MBA students is, look, you're going to do A plus B equals C until you've done about 10 deals. And then I don't care what you do. You find another piece of software that you like better, or you want to, change up the script or the letter, then do it once you've gotten some success. But, there's probably better methods in some ways than what we teach, little here and little there, but, you do that A plus B equals C, get successful. And then if you don't like one piece, then interchange it, I
don't get it, because, and I was that guy, but like I've created a course, lots of courses now. And, whenever I create a course, I spell it out, A to B to Z, D, A, B, C, D, E, all the steps. Do this, then do this, and then do this, then do this. It's really simple. It's not that hard. But we tend to complicate things so much. And we tend to think, all right, well, I think it'd be better if I did this instead of that. And what makes us think that we are the experts and we know what's better? Like, I'm telling you, I'm speaking to myself back 10 years ago.
Right.
Like, don't change it. Like, just stick to the script. Ask these questions. Use this contract. Use this letter. Use this calculator to come up with the offer. Stop trying to change it. Stop trying to overthink it, overanalyze it. Just do it.
Right.
I would have had so much more success sooner if I would have taken that advice.
Exactly. And now that you've been doing it for a while, you've probably tweaked some things, but
sure.
But after you've been successful and,
and sometimes it's still good to go back. Sorry, Howard, I was going to say here, like, even though I do change it, still I sometimes go back to the basic foundational fundamental trainings and I listen to what and I go, oh yeah, why did I stop doing that? I should start doing that again.
I forgot about that. Exactly.
Optimization is a great thing, and constantly testing and tweaking to try to improve is great. But if you're going to do that, you have to do that against a baseline. Otherwise, you don't know if you're actually improving or not improving. And so until you do the first thing as it's outlined on the tin, you don't have a baseline to compare against to know if what you're doing is improving things or not improving things.
Right.
Exactly.
The thing that I'm really fascinated by your story, Joe, because I like the whole entrepreneurial side of things. And you're sort of that you meet that classic quote from, I think it was from Winston Churchill, when he said, "You don't judge a man by how high he jumps. You judge a man by how high he bounces back after he falls."
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of entrepreneurs across my career, and there are some people that I've worked with, who literally looked at me and said, "I cannot work for the man one more day. I'm going to start my own thing. I don't care what it takes. I have to do it." And then there are other people who are not quite as adamant about it. And then they hit that, they have that fall. And all of a sudden, all of those fears of financial insecurity come up, and they're like, "All right, I'm done. I got to go back, and I got to just get my job, and I got to get that regular paycheck. I can't deal with this." And you clearly, there's something about you, I think, that it's just the natural entrepreneurship. So, you had quite a fall, and it would have been the easiest thing in the world to just go back to your job and say, "Okay, this is it. I'm going to focus on this." And you chose not to do that. And I'm really fascinated by your mindset at that time and how you kind of came to that conclusion.
I don't know if entrepreneurship can be taught, but you've got to have that burning fire in you that says, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I don't care if I fail 100 times. I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to figure this out. within common sense there. I mean, like if you're married, you got to have your spouse support you. Okay. Like,
yeah.
But like, I just hated cubicles. Like I was looking at an office a few years ago after, I quit my job like 5 years, and I was wanting to maybe lease some office space from a friend. And I went to go to his office and look to see what he had available. And all he had left were cubicles in the middle of his office. And he said, man, you can rent one of these things, a couple $100 a month. I looked at that cubicle and I felt like I needed to vomit. Like I felt the throw up come up my throat. Like, have you guys ever worked in a cubicle? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. That feeling of just going in there, sitting down, and the walls are maybe only 4 or 5 feet tall, and just the horror of being in a cubicle. So something about that just makes me sick. So I could never probably work for somebody again. And I don't know if that's something that, I don't know, because my dad started a small business, and he's always worked for himself. So maybe it's something I caught in his genes. But it's just, how bad do you want it? Really is what it comes down to. How bad do you want it? So like, I didn't start seeing success. I wanted it so stinking bad. I just said, all right, I'm going to jump off the building and I'm going to figure out how to fly as I fall. And luckily I had a course that told me how to fly and said, do this and then this and then this. And so I said, all right, here I go. And, I was falling, and I just did what the guy said to do, and it worked. I started doing deals. And every time I've had success, it's because of that. I've found somebody else who was doing what I wanted to do, and I just copied what they were doing. I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I just did what they did. I did what they said to do. I did what they did, and it worked for me too. Shock of shocks. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that, you're going to have miracles just because you took a course or just because you got coaching. But if you keep putting one foot in front of the other and you keep making consistent effort, you're going to reap the results. But some people quit before they, it's like that story, 3 Feet from Gold in Think and Grow Rich. You guys read that?
Yeah.
So just for the audience real quick, if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, great book. Everybody should read it. There's a point where this gold mining company is, gold runs in veins, typically a vertical vein. And they were out there for, I don't know, a couple years, whatnot, spent all their working capital, and they didn't hit the gold. They went down to town, sold all their equipment, and bugged out. And some guy came in, bought all their equipment at pennies on the dollar, went up there, and I don't know, a very short time later, maybe within days, he hit that gold vein and struck it rich. And that story is called 3 Feet from Gold. And you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. I've been twice where, wasn't quite seeing the success that I wanted to see while I was flipping houses, and partly during my land career, where I got kind of discouraged, and then I got offered a really good job, and I ended up going back to work, and I feel like I kind of wasted my time doing that because I was half-assing both the whole time.
So why were you not having the success in the real estate ventures?
Oh, good question. Well, house flipping, I was buying from wholesale. I did a few wholesales, but I was mostly buying from wholesalers and doing fix and flips. And, here in Denver, the market was getting to a point where it was really getting difficult to find deals. And then, the inventory got so low that you were competing with retail buyers for fix-ups, and just weren't able to buy at the prices that you needed to do. The prices were going up and up and up, and the spreads lower and lower. So it just was, when I was doing that, it was just I was making more at a job than I was, I could make more at a job than I could flipping a house and work less and have less stress. So I went back to work and kind of reevaluated. And then,
but in your land, what went on? Why were you not having the success you wanted in land?
Well, I was I was having success, just wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to go. And I got offered a really, really good job. So I said, well, I've seen that I can do this 100% remotely. I can outsource a lot of it. And so, I went back and did the double income for a while and then eventually was able to quit my job again.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the most fascinating things I like to study is why don't people have success in something that works? Like, I know wholesaling works. I know lease options work. I know land investing works. So why do people struggle with that?
Theory.
What's your theory, Howard?
Actually, it's more than a theory. For me, this is a complete belief. It's whether you believe in yourself or not.
Exactly.
That is all there is to it. So we have one person in the land speed community, and I won't mention any names, and she has struggled for a couple of years. She's never quit. She's got incredible determination, but she just wasn't. She bought some properties and she wasn't able to sell them. And it just went on and on and on. And she was watching other people come in and have success, and it was frustrating. And about 2-3 months ago, we were on the what we call the Land Speed Smart Bar, which is our Tuesday night mastermind call, and it didn't. This was completely spontaneous, but it ended up being almost like an intervention. And, we all knew her, and we basically told her that we believed in her. And, we gave her the different people on the call gave her some specific recommendations on things that she can do. Well, wouldn't you know that in the intervening time between that intervention and now, she sold every single one of her properties. And now the problem is she's got no inventory. So she's like moving all the way back to filling up the inventory. But the difference between now and 2 months ago is now she believes in herself.
Confidence.
That's it.
Yep. And man, I can relate to that. That was, I went through a little period where I was just having a lull, and it was lack of confidence. And that,
but even if you had all the confidence in the world and you really did believe that you could do this, if you're still not doing the marketing, sending the letters, making the offers, doing the work, you're not going to have any success, right?
You got to have both. You got to have both.
Yeah, I'm always scratching my head thinking, why? Because I'm not a good motivator. Like in my courses, I spend very little time, if any, on mindset. But I think it's so important. It's so important. But for me, it doesn't register. It's like, who cares what your mindset is? Okay. Just do the work. Okay. Here's what you do. You got to talk to 5 sellers a day. You got to make, 5 offers a day. Send these letters, send these offers. Just do it.
Exactly.
But that doesn't help, because then
Howard made a good point about that a while back. The difference between being an entrepreneur and having an entrepreneur mindset and being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, Howard.
Yeah. So I struggled with that for my entire career. So, after my Marine Corps career, I went to graduate school. I went and I started working at Lucent Technologies, and hooked up with these very entrepreneurial guys. And so from literally the beginning of my corporate career, everything I did was entrepreneurial. We were always building a new business. We were always building a new product, but we were doing it inside the big mammoth corporation. So I could enjoy all the aspects of entrepreneurship without any of the risks. Now, both those guys said, I can't do this anymore. I got to go work for myself. And they're both millionaires today. It took me a long time before I was able to step away from all of that and say, you know what, I'm ready to take on the risk. And willing to take on the risk is the difference between being entrepreneurial and being an entrepreneur.
That's a real good point. Because if you're too afraid to take the risk, then you're not going to ever take it. There's a guy named Frank Kern did a video back 10, 20 years ago, and it's one of my favorite videos, and you should look it up. And he says there's 2 rules in business, just the 2 commandments of business. And I'll use the rated PG version, the cleaned up version. Number 1, the rule is stop farting around. Okay. Stop farting around. And the rule number 2 is stop being a sissy. All right. Those were his 2 rules. And he made a real good analogy. He said, if a terrorist were to put a gun to your head and say, build this website or send this offer, or I'm going to kill you. You've got, 1 hour. You would figure out how to do it, right? You'd go to YouTube and you'd figure out like how to build a website, or you'd go how to send an offer. You'd go find a way to do it. You'd go to Staples or the office supply store. You'd find one of those generic contracts. Okay. And you would fill it out and send the offer. You would send the offer. But no, we're farting around here and we're worried about, we spend hours and hours and sometimes some people years.
Yeah.
We're trying to build the systems. We're trying to build the website. We're farting around trying to make a business card, create the LLCs, do all the stuff that just doesn't matter. What really matters is build a website. So if you had a gun to your head, you would send the offers. You would do it, right? Like, so sometimes we need to put that mental image in our head. The other thing is we're just sissies. We're afraid. We're afraid of taking the risks. You will go and spend $10,000, $20,000 on a coaching program, right? Or on a course. But we won't spend $1,000 on a direct mail campaign. We're just afraid. We're sissies, So that is one of the, I think it's so important to understand that.
Yeah. We get knocked down and we're a sissy about getting back up. It's like, okay, we're all gung ho and we go for it. We do one mail campaign or we do it a little bit and then we reach an obstacle in the road. We get knocked down and then we quit. And I see, that happening a lot. This doesn't work. I'm going back to work or whatever. And it's that mindset of being an entrepreneur versus being entrepreneurial. And that's not something you're necessarily born with. Some people certainly more than others, but it's developed. It's developed, and we got to go through getting our ass kicked a couple times. Yeah, sometimes more than a couple times. And you gotta learn that okay, I can get my ass kicked and I can get back up and recover. Yeah,
right. And that's the belief part. So one of these guys that I worked with at Lucent, he was a bit crazy. He was a lot crazy. Also, he's quite a genius, and absolutely. He realized one thing for sure in a 40,000 person company, and that was he can't work for other people. So God bless him for self-awareness. He was one of my best friends. I helped pack his entire house into a U-Haul truck with his wife and 3 kids as he went off to California because he didn't like New Jersey with no job prospect, no idea what he was going to do or how he was going to feed his family. But the thing about this guy is that he had one belief above all else. And I think this one belief is the most important thing every entrepreneur needs to know. You don't need to know how to do anything. You have to have absolute confidence in your ability to figure it out, because we will constantly be hit with all kinds of situations and obstacles, and we're not prepared for it. It's going to happen every single day. Doesn't matter. There's a person to ask. There's a book to read. There's the website. You got to know that you can figure it out, and you shouldn't let the fear of not knowing how to do something prevent you from just diving headfirst into the deep end.
Oh, that's so good. I heard this one guy talk about stop asking what if and start asking what next, because you can get so caught up in anticipatory thinking. What if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
Well, you'll get stuck in this flywheel and you'll never get out of it. So instead of asking what if, because every deal is different, every seller is different, you'll always come up with, what if a meteorite falls from the sky and hits the property? What if, Jesus comes back? Like, you could ask what if questions until you're blue in the face and it won't get you anywhere. But instead ask what next. All right. So I send the offers, I send the letters. Now what next?
Right.
And then you go and you do that thing. And then, okay, what next? Then you go do that. And you'll find success so much faster when you can change the questions that you're asking, right? And another good question to ask differently is not how do I do this, but who can do this for me?
Exactly.
If you're busy, Stop thinking, well, how do I do this? Because then if you try to dig into all the details and try to learn how everything works, you're going to waste a ton of time. So instead ask, who can I get to do this for me? Makes sense?
Exactly. And that's part of figuring it out. Whether you figure it out yourself or you figure out who to get to do it. It's funny. There's a friend of mine and a guy he's a business consultant, pretty high-end business consultant. We had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. His name is Marco Robert, genius guy, but he does this bit when he's speaking and when he's teaching. But I don't know how. I don't know how. And he goes through this whole thing about that. It's like, wants to slap him and say, don't ask how, ask what's next. Exactly.
That's great. I love that. What next?
Yeah.
As far as is it not, how do I do it, but who do I get to do it? So we've got a good friend in this business, guy who we've had on the podcast, a guy named Trevor Hartsock. And he always says, I found in my business that if I really want things to happen faster, I need to get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Every time I get out of the way, things grow. And I think that's a challenge. People who have not been entrepreneurs before often come with a mentality of cost control. And I would say this even when I was working for big companies. You cannot save your way to success. It just doesn't work that way. Obviously you don't spend money without thought, and there's a huge difference between spending money and investing money. So you've got to be smart about it. But if your goal is to, not spend money, don't plan on growing a business because it just doesn't work that way, and give up some profit. You don't need to get 100% of the profit. 50% of a lot of money is a lot better than 90% of a very little amount of money.
That's good.
Exactly. It's like a friend of mine in the land business. I was talking to him a couple years ago and asked him, "Hey, how your mailers doing?" He said, "Well, we haven't sent any out for a while because we've got inventory and we're a little bit cash strapped. We need to sell some property first." I said, "But your mailings were working before that?" "Yeah." "Well, why don't you partner with a deal funder and keep it going? And you make 100% of some and 50% of the others, but you keep the business growing." Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So now he's doing that and he's even more successful. It's funny. I've got to come back to that point, hanging on my bulletin board over here. I've got a saying, and actually I don't know who to quote on it, but it's a great saying. It says, "Unsuccessful people make decisions based on their current situation. Successful people make decisions based on where they want to be."
Is it just me, or is it getting harder and harder to count on a job for our financial security? Who would have ever believed that we would go from the lowest unemployment in 50 years to 40 million people unemployed? Whether you have a great job and want to create a second income, or you're recently unemployed, you need to check out Land.MBA, your one-stop shop for land investors. Investing in vacant land is a proven business model that can help you build a reliable, scalable second income. Imagine a business where you love what you do. There's no limit on how much money you can make. You can operate your business from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And best of all, you can never be fired or downsized. If this sounds good to you, Land.MBA provides everything you need to get your business up and running and delivering income quickly. You get education, an end-to-end video course and optional coaching to help you get started faster and turn your energy into income. You get tools so you can automate and outsource the busy work and stay super organized. You get access to a thriving community of like-minded investors, which is a powerful way to share best practices and develop potential partnerships for growing your business. And finally, you get access to deal financing, so you never have to pass on a great investment opportunity due to limited funds. Our team has over a decade of real estate investing experience and has the knowledge and experience you need to help navigate any investing scenario. And with Land.MBA, we hold nothing back. Because there are no upsells, you get access to all of our combined knowledge right out of the gate. So don't wait to provide your family with financial freedom. Sign up today for Land.MBA's soup to nuts land investing video course. Just go to courses.land.mba and use coupon code FREEDOM to get 25% off. That's courses.land.mba, coupon code FREEDOM. and let us help you say goodbye to your JOB and hello to financial freedom. So, Joe, there's a question that I've just been dying to ask, and that is, you've been in so many different parts of the real estate world. You've done the wholesaling, the lease options, the buying and selling. You've been in various aspects of real estate, and it seems like the whole land thing actually is a later evolution of your real estate career. I'm wondering, what have you learned in all those other aspects of real estate that you brought to your land business that you think might be a little different than what the average land investor is doing?
Well, I can tell you this, and there's a story behind this. I was doing houses, a lot of houses back in 2012, and I wanted to do more. I wanted to scale, do more. And I thought, well, you know what? I need to hire an acquisitions manager because that'll save me a lot of time. And so I hired an acquisitions manager, trained them, spent a lot of time with them, and we started doing deals slowly. But within about 3-4 months, I mean, we were averaging 4 to 5 deals a week, maybe 3 or 4 deals a week. And looked at the bottom line, though, at the end of the day. And I was like, I'm working harder than before. And I'm still only keeping my net is still only like this. I thought if I was going to be doing all these deals, my net would be this, and it's only down here. What's going on? And I realized, you know what? When you are doing more deals like this, and I'm more involved, I'm not, my overhead's going up because I'm paying my acquisitions manager commissions and I'm paying for the direct mail. I'm also borrowing a lot of money now because I'm doing more deals to close on these deals. And I thought, I didn't sign up for this, right? I'm just kind of created another job for myself. And I heard somebody, a friend of mine, his name is Jason Roberts. He was coaching somebody else and I overheard him talk to this guy. And one of the things he likes to do with everybody, and he's coaching, is he writes down all of the steps involved in a deal. And he just asks a real simple question. All right, now you've written down all the steps. How can you do none of this? And I started thinking about, that's a great question. What if I listed all of the steps in doing these deals? And I asked myself this question: how can I get someone else to do all of this for me? How can I do none of this? And so I started thinking, all right, well, I could have my assistant do my direct mail for me. An assistant. I could have a virtual assistant answer the calls live, but I need somebody that can actually meet with the sellers, call them and talk to them and get it under contract and flip it. And I thought, well, you know what? I know a bunch of wholesalers are already doing deals. And I know a lot of wholesalers that are doing deals that they're not good at the marketing and the pre-screening of the leads and the admin stuff and the follow-up. They're horrible with follow-up. But I have an assistant that could do all of that. I have this virtual assistant, this local assistant. So I started approaching other wholesalers, other investors that were already doing deals. They weren't doing a ton of them. They were doing 2 or 3 a month. They wanted to do more, but they were just not good with the data admin stuff. Mm-hmm. I said, what if I brought you pre-screened motivated seller leads and I provided the VA to do all the follow-up, the systems and all of that. You worked these leads and we split the deals 50-50. Would you want to do that? Like, no wholesaler in their right mind would ever say no to that unless they already had a machine going and they already had a ton of leads coming in. So I said to one guy, what do you think? And he said, great, this is fantastic. Let's do it. He just wants to be in his truck looking at properties, making offers. That's what he's good at. He's not good at, he gets buried in Post-it notes when he's trying to do the marketing and he can't follow up. He's not good at that admin stuff. So I started doing more deals through this avenue than I was before, and I started doing them in multiple markets. So we wanted to travel. We wanted to go into an RV and start traveling with our family. We wanted to go back to Europe for 3 months. And so we wanted to go in an RV for 3 months, but I knew I couldn't do that with an acquisitions manager. So that's kind of when I wrote all this down. I started asking bigger questions. How can I do none of this? And so that's why I started doing that. And now when it comes to land, I'm friends with Jack Bosch, and I was really interested in what he was talking about. And I thought, well, I want to do some land too, but okay, how can I do none of it? And so I started thinking about, I had some friends who went to my church, and they were doing houses. They didn't like it. They didn't like messing with houses because they were doing too many. They were doing deals, but they were going into areas in parts of St. Louis that were just not safe, and it was kind of frustrating and a lot of work. So I said to them, "Hey, listen, what if we did land?" And so I will go pay for the marketing. Here, I'm going to give you. I bought 3 different land investing courses, and I gave them to these guys. And I said, "All right, let's do this. I will pay for the marketing. I'll provide the virtual assistants. I'll pay for the systems and all the subscriptions. And good grief, there's a lot of subscriptions. And you just work the leads." And they said, "Great." And so we've done 25, 30 deals or so in about 2 or 3 different states. And we've gone through phases where, we're doing it a lot and then we're kind of cooled down. They had a couple kids, they moved, so things slowed down for 8 to 10 months or something. But so now I've got it set up where my sons, because they're 15, 16 years old, they're doing a lot of the making the offers. The lead comes in, goes to voicemail. They listen to the voicemail. The seller leaves a reference number from the letter, the neutral letter that we send. My boys do the research. They come up with the offer. They send the seller the offer before we ever even talk to them. And then we and at that point, if the seller wants to call or negotiate a deal, it goes to my friends, and my friends handle the leads. So we've got a split where we work after my expenses for the direct mail and the subscription tools and software and all that. We split it about 50-50. So it works out to be about a 60-40 split, somewhere around there. But I literally do nothing, except now I'm training my boys. I'm spending more time with them, training them how to do this stuff. But it's just, it's a labor of love, and I'm wanting them to learn the business. But like, I'm not the guy sending the offers or making the phone calls, doing the research. I just think about who can I get to do this for me. So, and I learned this when I was I was teaching a workshop in Spain with some friends. And this guy did a real good job of like, all right, there's 30, 40 people here in the room. We want you guys to go to the right side of the room who have money but no time. You got the money to invest in marketing, but you don't have the time to manage the leads. And we want the other people on this side of the room to go who have the time but no money. You're good on the phone. You can talk to sellers, but you don't have the money to invest in marketing. And so the room was pretty evenly split 50-50. And then he said, all right, for the next 15 minutes, you guys start talking to each other. Some of you can maybe partner on some deals together. And so they came together, and just for the next 15 minutes, we kind of networked. And it was really weird at first. I thought, this isn't going to work. But fast forward 6 months, I was doing another workshop and with the same kind of community or whatever. And there was about 3 businesses. They weren't like joint venture. They weren't like new LLCs or businesses, but they were more like partnering on deals. And there were at least 3 different guys, groups of guys, whatever, that were doing deals together from that initial meeting that I had. And I thought about, that's fascinating, because we're all good at something and not good at something else. So why not find somebody that's not good at what we're not good at, that's good at what we're not good at, and partner with them? Now, I'm not talking about creating a new business, but maybe it's just on a deal by a deal basis, right? You can partner on a deal. You don't have to form a partnership on the business, but you can partner on the deals, or partner on a project. Maybe you've got, this certain project that you can partner on. So anyway, I've done a lot of that. Like, find somebody that I can partner with that can do the stuff I'm not good at. I can do what I'm good at. And, we'll just split it evenly. But I feel like doing that, it's not bringing somebody on just doubles my results. I'm bringing somebody on to partner with me that will triple or quadruple my results. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's and you got to think in terms of that mindset when you're partnering with somebody and splitting the deal, or splitting the company, because paying somebody's a lot cheaper than giving equity, and so it's got to be worth it.
That's a good point, because everything I've done this with, it's on a deal by deal basis. So it's not. And if it doesn't work out, I stop marketing. I stop sending them leads. But I own it. I control it. I'm the one who sends out the marketing, gets the leads, or I'm the one who, or whatever. And it's not like they're working for me, but it's just on a deal by deal basis.
Very good.
I like it.
Yeah, I love it. And I have partnered on a lot of deals in mostly in houses, but I've done some partnerships on land as well. And I also have done a business partnership. And I like the deal by deal partnerships better.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when you're in a main business, like Howard and I are partners in Land.MBA, but it's a little bit different situation than I had done a partnership where I like divorced my land business and went all in with somebody else on a partnership on a land business. And we did it for a while and decided, let's go back to doing our own thing.
Yeah.
So
very
good.
We did a whole episode on what it takes to have a successful partnership. And, it's really hard work, but I mean, the starting point, to me, the most important thing is you have to have a real good heart-to-heart conversation to say, what do you want to get out of this? What is the end game? Are you looking to build something huge and flip it in 5 years and get a big windfall and go off and enjoy your life? Are you looking to have a lifestyle business that's like an ATM machine that pays you and then you can pass it on to your kids? If you don't have the same goal, it doesn't matter how much you like each other, how much you augment each other's skill set. It probably won't work.
Yep. Another important thing in this is somebody has to have majority ownership. Control makes the decisions.
Yeah.
It can't be 50-50. So it's got to be somebody that is the, I don't know what you call it. The leader.
Yeah.
So there has to be somebody who owns the company. And that's, you can do a 50-50 split on the deals, but somebody's got to be the one saying that makes the decisions, and there's no room for argument.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Controlling interest. Yeah.
Yes.
51-49 controlling interest. Excellent. So cool. Joe, do you have any favorite deals that you've done in the land business? Do you have any experiences that were funny or challenging, or just like wow home run deals that come to mind that you'd like to share?
It's a good question. In the land business specifically, we were doing deals in a county in Oregon, and I don't know why we stopped, but this was right about the time when my friends had a couple babies and moved, and but I didn't have much involvement in those at all. I mean, I just go to our website and see what's available and what's sold, and that's how I kind of know what's going on, to be honest. But there's some beautiful properties there that I'm just blown away. Like, holy smokes, are you kidding me? Somebody would sell that. And we would do the drone photos, and they would take really nice pictures. Somebody would sell that for $5,000. Are you kidding me? 15, 20 acres on a mountain with trees, beautiful properties. But I don't know if I have a specific property that was my favorite. If I had some time to think about it, I could. I remember one property, we were trying to do some vacant land in Los Angeles County in the desert. And you look at a satellite image, it's one of those satellite images where it's just brown.
Yeah.
And you zoom in, it's just brown. It's brown. And then sure enough, I'm zooming in and there's a boat there in like the middle of nowhere. And there's a boat. So that's probably one of the strangest deals that I've ever looked at. A boat in the middle of the desert.
I think
nothing else around, no house or trailer. Somebody just parked the boat. Was it on a trailer at least?
You couldn't tell from the satellite image, but it was the weirdest thing ever. And it was just a dirt road. And all the parcels were the same size. So somebody, I took a picture of it and I put it into my Facebook. So if anybody wants to go look at that picture, it was like the oddest thing in Facebook. I posted a picture of it, but this boat in the middle of nowhere. But I decided not to do land out there because it just doesn't make sense. We did do a couple deals and made some money on it, but I don't want to buy a property for $500 and sell it for $3,000 on terms. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Too much work for too little money, right? And so
Exactly.
I've been now focusing instead on the properties that are more desirable, near the mountains with trees, that have more privacy and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that's the importance of understanding your strategy based on your circumstances and what you're bringing to the table. We've had a guy on the podcast who his whole business is focused on those low end properties and building up systems so that he can manage that kind of volume, and he's able to turn them over really quick, and he's doing fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think when you first get into this business, whether you come in through one of the schools or however you do it, a lot of the schools are just teaching you go after cheap rural land. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a perfectly good strategy. But what I think is not often clear to people, at least when they start, is that's just one of many strategies. There's probably an infinite number of strategies. And so there is, it's fine to learn the operations of the land business. As David said, here's an area we can learn A plus B equals C, and then the land business, but then at some point you've got to say, all right, I've got to figure out how to make this thing work for me. What am I? Some people are saying, well, I've got time, but I don't have, just what you said, I've got time, but I don't have money. Other people saying I've got plenty of capital. Well, that could lead to very, very different strategy choices. And you have to know that, because the strategy will then dictate where you're going to look for land, what kind of land you're going to look at, who you want to sell it to. I mean, the entire process will be dictated by the strategy that you choose.
Which is why you need a good coach. You need
Absolutely.
a good coach to help you with that.
Keep you straight. And on that note, I think we're running up against our time bumper here. Joe, I want to thank you so much for coming on. And Joe, where can people reach out and find you?
I have a podcast, Real Estate Investing Mastery. Real Estate Investing Mastery is the best place to go. You can go to joemccall.com. I come out with 2 or 3 podcasts a week, and I got a YouTube channel as well. So search for me on podcasting world. But,
awesome. And I can tell you it's excellent stuff. I love it. Listen to Joe quite a bit.
It's
cool.
high quality.
Yeah. Gentlemen.
Great seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
Great day.
See you all later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.MBA, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.MBA. See you next time on the Land.MBA Podcast.